Republican incumbent David Valadao. TJ, thanks so much for your time today. And I want to talk to you about this district. It's obviously been a Republican stronghold for the last few election cycles, redistricted in 2012. How'd you flip this district? This is one the Republicans counted on. This is one that they expected to win.
Well, a lot of hard work, I can tell you. We went out and we spoke to everyone we could. We went out to all the communities throughout the district, the Arvin, Lamont, Mendota, Delano, Sanger, Selma. Wherever we could show up, we were there talking to people about the issues that mattered to them.
And talk to me about just what the sentiment from voters was. Obviously, this is a district that, as you mentioned, is held in a lot of rural areas. This is a Latino majority district. But this is a place the Republicans, as I mentioned, have counted on. In fact, your win is one of many wins the Republicans, the Democrats won across the state. What was it about the timing? Is this a referendum on Donald Trump? Is this a representation in the Valley? People didn't feel like they were being represented here at home. What was the sentiment from voters and ultimately led to your win?
More than anything else, I would say it was the sentiment of having a representative and having a Congress that works for the people. We all know that we need quality, affordable health care for all. We all know that we need jobs and opportunity and jobs of the future, a job that's going to pay a living wage and offer benefits. We all know that we need a sensible immigration plan. And so those are the things that I've got a background in doing. Those are the things I was offering. And those are the things that the people, when you would talk to them, that's the things that they were concerned about. And they saw their country going in a different direction. And so they stood up on November 6th and allowed their voices to be heard.
I could hear a little bit of your platform of what I would presume you're going to be working when you get in office. Healthcare, jobs, obviously the immigration issue is one that affects the Valley and is being talked about right now, the border wall and the passage, potential shutdown with the government. What will you do? What's your first agenda item when you get into office come January?
Well, it's certainly getting out there and talking to the people. Once again, now that we're in office, to listening to the issues that concern them. You saw the sideshow the other day about this crazy argument they're having in the Oval Office about, $1.5 billion or $5 billion for a border wall. People don't care about that. People care about, making sure that they've got a job for the future, that more money is being put into their pockets, that they're going to have quality, affordable health care, that their children are going to have educational opportunities and job opportunities. I can tell you one of the nicest things about meeting the new Congress is that, on the Democratic side, there's some 64 new members. On the Republican side, there's some 20. And all of us together are dedicated to one thing, and that's working for the people. All the other things are just a sideshow. And that's, I guess, the most endearing thing, is that we're all dedicated on making a positive difference in the lives of our constituents.
And Mr. Cox, that sounds all good and nice, but obviously that sideshow you talk about in the Oval Office is something that a lot of people have speculated will be what the next year really brings, a divided government, divisiveness between the Republicans and Democrats. Do you plan to break through that? And if you remember, when we spoke back in October, I asked you whether you'd work with this president on issues that relate to the Central Valley, or would you join the resistance, so to speak? So which is it? Will you work with this president, or will you side with what we saw in the Oval Office earlier this week, a really tense and divided tone?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll work with anyone. But once again, as I was just speaking, is that I was talking to a number of the new Republican members of Congress. And, I was talking to one of them specifically about immigration. And he said, my position on immigration has really been evolving. And once again, all of us together know what the issues that matter to our constituents in our districts, and that's the things that we're going to focus on. And it's not a Republican or Democratic thing. Certainly that's what we know here in the Valley. It's really an urban versus rural issue. And I'm happy to say, now we have a whole new different membership in our Valley Coalition, where we're all going to be rowing in the same direction and fighting for the things that matter to the hardworking citizens of the Valley.
Not to put you in a box here, but how would you vote on that? Obviously, you don't have a vote now, but if this gets carried over to the new year, how would you vote on that? Would you vote for the $5 billion border wall to avoid a shutdown, or would you have gone for the lesser amount?
Well, it's not just the border wall is just one specific issue, and the thing is, we know we need border security. but it's really on taking care of the overall immigration issues and having comprehensive immigration reform. One, we should have a Clean Dream Act right now. Two, should we have border security? Absolutely, and we should make sure that everyone that's in America should be here legally. We should have an immigration policy that meets our workforce needs. We should have an immigration policy, that's not tearing apart families, and certainly one that's not ending up with kids being put in cages. And so, to have just a small part of that and have the attention and the arguments focused around that is really distracting from the bigger picture.
But would you support a border wall?
I'll support border security. And if there's some fences or border wall or whatever you want to call it, it's really a semantics case for me. Yeah, that's something I'll support, but just not in isolation. We need broad, comprehensive immigration reform, and that's something that this Congress is dedicated towards delivering.
I want to ask you about the passage of the Farm Bill. Obviously, that's making news past the Senate, past the House, with a broad bipartisan support. This is obviously an issue that affects the Central Valley. It's really in response to the tariffs that have been the trade war going back and forth. What did you think about that Farm Bill? Was it everything that you would have supported? And how do you think ultimately this will help Kern County farmers, dairy farmers specifically, as they battle these tough times right now?
Yeah, it's something that I know that our Valley delegation, Jim Costa and Kevin McCarthy, were very much working on. It is something I would absolutely support. There's some specific programs in the Farm Bill that are going to have a direct impact, a positive impact on Central Valley agriculture. So I'm very happy about that. In a broader context, we do need to do something about these tariffs. The tariffs are just a step in the wrong direction. But this is a Congress, I can tell you, that's going to reassert itself to be, an equal branch of government. There's three branches, co-equal branches. One of them is really supposed to be a little more equal than the others, and that's the legislative branch. And this is a legislative branch, a new Congress, that's going to step up, and it's going to enact its responsibility of being the voice for the people.
Yeah, and on that note, I don't want to jump too much into the divided politics here, but this really is the elephant in the room right now. When we go back to that Oval Office meeting, you talk about wanting to really put a new spirit together in the legislative branch, make that the co-equal branch of government. But a lot of the talk is that the Democrats now, with control, the majority in Congress, are going to be putting investigations forward, going to be focusing on committee hearings and potentially calling for the impeachment of President Trump. Would you support any of that? Would you be part of that? Or are you going to take the higher legislative road, so to speak, and focus on issues? Or do you feel pressure, I should say, as a new freshman congressman to join the ranks and to follow suit?
I can tell you, I just spent 2 weeks in new member orientation. 1 week with all Democrats, the other week with a bipartisan group. In all those meetings with both groups, the one word that never came up was impeachment. And so that's something that, if there are impeachable offenses and whatever committees are looking into that and find things, those are issues that will be addressed at that time. As I was saying before, this is a Congress on both sides of the aisle that's dedicated towards working to the things that matter for the people of their districts.
And talk about that new member orientation. We were speaking before just about the process. And obviously your race, if we take a look back in time, you were losing come election day. Valadao was looking like he was going to win. Those ballots came back, the provisional ballots and mail-in ballots, and you slowly started to take a lead. It was sort of, you talked about the process in terms of getting that office, making your mark in Washington. Now that you're officially the Congressman-elect, so what's this process been like, and has it sunk in that exactly what happened in this state? Democrats now control the majority of the congressional seats in California.
Yeah, it's, I can tell you, on election night, obviously, the results were different than what we thought they were going to be, because they weren't a reflection of what we were seeing throughout the district. When we'd be in places like Delano and 2,000 people would come out and said, TJ, we're all voting for you. When you'd go to Arvin and Lamont and just be welcomed and knocking on every door, and some people said, we've already voted for you. That's not what we saw on election night. And when we knew about how many votes were still outstanding, we knew we stood a chance. And, it was our message, once again, about delivering for the people with health care, jobs, clean air, clean water, and in our positions on immigration.
All right, TJ Cox, Congressman-elect for the 21st Congressional District. We thank you so much for your time. And as we wish any member of elected office, we wish you luck in Washington.
Thanks so much. Pleasure to be here.